Okay, here we go. So yeah, a couple of, I think it was a month ago or 2 months ago, I was at a chief data officer conference, and there was the chief data officer from a bank. And he was telling us that his CEO directly is contacting department heads, asking them to come up with generative AI solutions. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing with generative AI? So it's interesting. And his reasoning was like, all these CEOs are talking to each other. And since everybody is like experimenting with something, they actually motivate each other that, oh, yeah, we're doing these cool things. Like, there's a fear of missing out a little bit in the market. And of course, I mean, I've seen some successful use cases. And Caitlin, you remember, like at AppD, before OpenAI and everything else, we actually, with App Dinobot, we had some really cool, chatbots that was a little bit generative. It was a little bit hard-coded, but it was very, to me, successful and helpful for everybody. That was one of the things that caught my attention. But anyways, like, I mean, when a bank is running 25 POCs of generative AI at their company, that is a sign. That is a sign, guys, that the market is going into a certain direction. So yeah, I mean, I can provide an example that we had at AppD. So our use case was really using a generative AI chatbot to help people understand our metrics better. So as a SaaS company, we have a lot of revenue metrics that are complicated to calculate. And when you're an acquisition, so AppD was an acquisition of Cisco, the bigger group may have their own definition of some metrics, and the acquisitions may have their own definition of metrics. And within departments, every department may look at a definition in a different way. Just to give you an example, for ARR, annual recurring revenue, we had, I think, 3 or 4 definitions of the metric, like within the sales department, within the marketing department, and also I think the Cisco had its own definition of ARR. So it was always tricky for our analytics users to understand, like, okay, which ARR we're talking about. Some people didn't even know. So that was the initial start of like this whole journey of like, okay, we have a chatbot within the organization that IT is using heavily, and it actually ties back to some of our knowledge bases. So why not we actually put a knowledge base around our metrics definition, organize that, define owners for each metric category, and let people ask questions about the metrics and potentially even provide some recommendations about the metrics. So that was a use case that we had, and I think it was interesting. I don't have adoption numbers on how widely it was adopted, but the feedback was really good that people had a easy way to interact with like metrics definitions. We started using the Dinobot for some operational use cases as well. So for example, if you wanted to get access to a Tableau dashboard, you could just type it in and ask the Dinobot that, hey, I need access to this dashboard. It had some logic that potentially it could give you access to certain dashboards like easily without any like, oh, here's like go submit a ticket or wait in line, justify things. I mean, it's also dependent on, I guess, the culture of your organization too. But operationally, that was such an easy, smooth way to, get things done. And I mean, if for some reason you didn't have access to a Tableau dashboard, you couldn't get easy like access because of governance, the Dinobot would just submit a ticket for you, and it will like notify you like, oh, granted, you're good. And it was just such a great employee experience for me. Like, yes, it was saving me time. It was a great employee experience. It saved me a lot of time in many cases. So yeah, that was another use case that we started like bringing like analytics operations into the mix with chatbots. I mean, I know it's not necessarily generative AI, but it's within the same field of using agents and tapping into that. We had some big aspirations that I can talk about, but I want to kind of pause and see if you have any feedback about this particular one. And I also want to check some other forums to make sure I let people in. Right. Kevin, how was your experience with Dinobot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember using the Dinobot. I think it was probably upgraded after I left. But a few of the things that you just mentioned there really resonate with what our product does at Ada, the company that I work for now. I just popped our link in the chat for our website. We're a chatbot company, which is, GenAI is an existential opportunity for us. So the two things that basically align exactly with the direction that we're taking with our product is your comment about the knowledge base. So for us, moving away from kind of a rules-based bot system to a generative system where the knowledge base becomes king and the generative AI will just read and generate content off of that knowledge base. That's the big shift that we're seeing is now our documentation specialists are a lot more important in our customers and our internal use of our own product. The other thing that you mentioned is actually having the bot be able to take actions on behalf of the user. So that's the kind of next big push is figuring out how do we combine that very prescriptive action that is you have to have that API call correct. It has to be including all of the right information from the customer. How do we include that piece of activity in the chat along with this generative, more fluid, open-ended way of processing? So that's a problem that's outside of my scope, but it's definitely something that's coming up a lot in as we're pushing into the future of this technology.
Yeah, and Kathleen, could you maybe give a little bit more about the company, like your company, and what the tool does and what use cases you cover with the chatbot?
Yeah, I mean, we're very straightforward use case. We're a support chatbot. We support primarily mid-market retailers online. So companies who generally have a very small support team or even just one person supporting their support organization. The goal of Ada is to be able to expand the reach of support beyond just human agents, and ideally to automate as much of the support inbound issues as possible. So of course, things that are simple questions that come in, that can be served off of a knowledge base using an FAQ, but a lot of what really drives automation is being able to take action. So like your description there of granting access to a Tableau dashboard, like being able to have the AI actually do that, that's the dream of the future of our product. We can do it right now, but on a very it's a very hard-coded way like you've described. So we're working on the mesh between how is this generative thing where it's not quite certain what has happened before in the conversation. How is that then clear what the directive is to be able to grant access to exactly which Tableau dashboard for that to be correct?
Right, and is that because there needs to be some sort of integration into, you name it, different systems, right? Like, well, some organizations have Tableau, some organizations have Power BI, Click, it's just so custom potentially.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So we talked about that dream of getting into chatbots, and the generative AI also help with the actions, like execute tasks as the user is requesting things and trying to. So it's not just retrieving knowledge or producing knowledge and putting the user in the right path, but also doing things as an agent for the users. That's a very interesting one. I think, yes, that would be very cool. I know there are like some products in the market that trying to act as a sales agent, for example, right? They're not, so some of them are summarizing meeting notes for you, or they're setting up meetings for you. And there are some companies, like they have some big aspirations, startups, that I see that they want to do that even in real time. So if a salesperson is on a call, the agent can potentially pick up on, oh, you're talking about a next step. So maybe like set up a call next Tuesday, this time slot, just recommended right now. You don't even have to go and look at your calendar. So it's execution and also kind of some recommendation, potentially real time. So I know some other folks joined, Vivek, and some other folks, Michael, so we were just having an intimate discussion about generative AI use cases. I provided an example of what we did at Cisco with our analytics bot, helping users with metrics definitions and also some operational tasks, including like getting access to dashboards. And Caitlin provided some examples from her company that does generative AI chatbots, Ada. Would be happy to hear from other folks how they are actually using generative AI or chatbots, agents in their companies. Like, how are you at POC phases, or do you have things in production? Because again, I hear a lot of proof of concept solutions. And I know some companies are heavy on operational automation right now. So would be curious to hear what else everybody's experimenting with at their companies.
Yeah, I'm Michael Davis. I'm the CEO for our startup Egghead AI. And what we are a company that automates data governance using like a machine learning and AI. And also, so I guess in a sense, we kind of have been doing generative AI, because what our product does is it's gets information to the data of the data and presents it to the business in a business friendly format. But it's not anything like close to ChatGPT or anything like that yet. But we've been doing that, so it's very encouraging to see that we're going on this path. So right now, so I said we've kind of been doing that for a few years now. We're gonna start maybe do a POC to see what next, or how can it be improved with this latest technology out here. But that's our job. Like, for instance, if you have data quality issues, we have algorithms and stuff that handles that and then presents it in a business friendly manner. So that's what we do, try to make stuff simple and automate the clungy task of managing data, right, in data management. And the reason is that I found that imperative is because I have a background in data governance and quality and also IT. So I know the pain. So I led programs at different Fortune 500 companies, and also as a consultant as well. And now I have my startup. So interesting to hear what you guys. Yeah, thank you. Just to first of all, thank you guys for putting this together. And I just was interested to hear what others were doing myself in the space.
Sure, absolutely. And Michael, could you do us a favor? Maybe drop the name of your company in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, will do.
That would be great.
Okay.
So one thing I heard from you that I think is very interesting, use case just in general, and the power of the technology is business-friendly presentations, right? Like having generative AI help with narratives, with some sort of, like knowing the audience and producing some content that is digestible by whoever, right? If it's a person in finance, or if it's somebody in marketing, I mean, that's like different tone, different messaging, different storytelling,
exactly.
right? So, yeah, and so
I think that's the example for that, Milad. I think that's actually something that we nailed it, and we are very happy with that. So I'm a VP at a company called Mind Valley, VP of B2B growth. So typically in a kind of a sales marketing approach, you do inbound, outbound. Your hope is that, especially with the outbound activities that you do, you resonate with your target audience, right? So there are tons of tools out there, even they use AI, and the goal for those tools is exactly as Milad mentioned a little bit earlier, to just basically increase engagement and hopefully bring them further into the funnel and convert them down the line, right? So what we started to experience with, and again, the majority of the current tools in the market, they work on the basis of creating templatized approach and just shooting that to the mass market, right? Just literally pray and spray, right? Basically what we did, which was extremely helpful for us, and we now see a lot of, let's say, good results coming from this, is to train the likes of ChatGPT or even a bunch of other tools to create like some customized outreach for us to be put in our cadences and our let's say tools for sales and marketing. Like for instance, for tools, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there are like some very famous tools like Sales Lab or Outreach, and these are built on a templatized mass market approach, right? So you just push some let's say templatized content or outreach messages, and then you do that through LinkedIn or email. What we did, we actually flipped the funnel in a sense. We said, let's just give the let's say ChatGPT kind of we create a ChatGPT agent for ourselves, give them have them ask us some questions, some more questions about the person that we are doing like an outreach to, and then with the hope that the message will resonate, the email will be open, the LinkedIn message will trigger like a kind of a conversion. Let's call it a conversion. We created templatized, let's say, questions. So now every time we want to create like an outreach, ChatGPT asks us a bunch of questions, and we do that now through Airtable. So we connected that to Airtable. So it's just basically very fast for us. So it will ask us a bunch of questions. We even give some inputs as much as we can on the person. In 1 or 2 minutes, we create like a super personalized message, right? And that message, the open rate is off the charts. Now the conversion rate, we are working to improve on that. And we are seeing a lot of good results on that as well. But this is something that we're experiencing, and this seems to be working very well. Every day we are improving something. Our colleagues are trying some smart new ways to increase our, let's say, success in terms of conversion rates, open rates, engagements, all of these things. So this is one front on the, let's say, commercial sales front. On the marketing front, we are doing exactly the same thing for mass, let's say, content production, not only on the textual content, but also on image, on video, and all of these things. Again, we trained, let's say, the likes of ChatGPT and Agent GPT and Midjourney and all of these things with like some smart, again, templates in place. So now we have cut basically like 50% of the time development, both on the, let's say, textual content as well as like image and video content. And the engagement is, again, higher, time on page is higher, bounce rate is lower. So we see a lot of success on that as well. I think this is the way to go, because if you want to just get the, let's say, output of generative AI and just push it to like a platform without any human touch, at this point of time, we are not there yet. But if you have like a smart way to intervene and mediate the outcome, it's going to be basically a successful approach.
And we hear that a lot recently about the concept of human in the loop with all the things related to generative AI. And I'm sure, Caitlin, like in your use cases also, like from a CX standpoint, like at some point, it's like, okay, we need to bring in a human, like something is stuck, or like you want to make sure that the information that you're giving back to the users is accurate and maybe like avoid hallucinations and things like that. Like you want to bring that human in the loop, but also like, yeah, for content verification itself, I think like you want to, at the end of the day, do your own checks and balances before like you productionalize something. Who knows what you're going to post if you let the OpenAI just write everything for you. That's a really good use case, marketing. And so Misav, if you could also put the name of your company in the chat too. I think this is also a good networking opportunity for all of us. So I would be curious from others as well. Thanks for sharing, Misav. This was great.
Yeah, Milad, yeah, sorry to cut you off. I second that notion, and I don't think I got. It's Caitlin as well because she has an interesting company. Yeah, anyone, if you could put your contact information in there as well, so we can network, that'd be great.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure, absolutely.
So my name is Vivek Gupta. I'm CEO of a company called Soft Sensor AI. So we are doing a couple of things on the generative AI side. So one is that we are building a bond database. We have a bond database for a customer where we are building the query system completely, on the generative AI, because basically we are using some part of that is we are doing a database query. So we're converting some of the bonds into both structured and unstructured extraction, and then building up the entire query system on top of it so that we can give more accurate answers as compared to just chunking the data. So that is where we are on that one. That we are in the, I would say, beyond POC. Means, in the POC, we just did the basic one, but we are actually improving the extraction and kind of using as an intermediate layer. In the another one, I have connected the chatbot directly to the generative AI directly to one of the databases that we have for answering we have a large number of drivers on our systems. So those drivers actually ask questions, there are queries going on, they get scores, they get performance feedback. So there we are in the stage of building where we are connecting the database from MongoDB to Pinecone, and some of the challenges are there. So we are resolving that. In the third instance, we are using tools like more not on the chat side, but more on the image GPT side. We are using two things. One is Segment Anything and SAG GPT. So SAG GPT as well as Segment Anything, primarily around on the medical images side. So we use that for identifying patterns and objects in the data. And there we are also deploying FICE in one of the medical AI problems. So these are the three direct use cases where we are building systems on top of generative AI. As far as using it inside the companies as a chat tool, etc. So all the programmers now we are pushed on to the Copilot and everything, So that is already there. Then we are also pushing, especially on the marketing side. I think, Misad, that we are. I came across a use case on Twitter where you can take an Excel file and you can populate variety of marketing messages using that, etc., etc. So my marketing teams, my sales teams, they are using ChatGPT extensively. In fact, we automated quite a bit of it, but still, again, they are using it more as a ChatGPT, not as a chat bot. So they actually, but we are also using some of those Excel tools or etc. We follow that on Twitter. So that's kind of, in nutshell, the kind of different kind of use cases that we have started putting in.
Oh, really quick. What was that tool that you mentioned? Oh, sorry, you said Segment something that you're using instead of
SAG GPT. It's an algorithm on the image side. So you can do a prompt. Actually, you can use any image as a prompt, and using the prompt, you can find out similarities. So that is a SAG GPT.
Yeah.
But that's more on the image side.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said you use another tool in addition to Chat GPT. That's what I thought.
No, there's a SAG GPT, SEG GPT. It's an algorithm.
Okay.
Building a system on it. So we use Chat GPT. Chat GPT, there was a very interesting tool which came out. Somebody posted something using an Excel. How can you populate your entire marketing messaging book? I can forward that here if you want.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, my team actually.
In the chat, that would be great, Vivek.
Yeah, I will have to ask my marketing guy. I'll forward that, but yeah.
You can comment on the LinkedIn post too, so everybody sees that. That's perfect. I have one burning question for you, Vivek, about like connecting to databases. How are you overcoming accuracy challenges with that?
What challenges? Sorry.
Accuracy, data accuracy, like the response accuracy that you get.
Yeah, so it's very important because you can't give wrong answers. So wherever we are, so that's where unstructured data, especially where there is a financial data involved, we are pushing the tabular data into intermediate tables. We are not leaving it as a text. because there are a lot of extraction issues, and I'm building triangulation logic on top to kind of see if my extraction was accurate or not. So there is an extraction challenge, so that you have to overcome. So my team uses 2 or 3 extraction tools that we are using. Then we are pushing the data into intermediate databases and then running Panda queries or some sort of other queries on that. So we are not just directly depending on the chunk to give all the answers.
Mhm. Gotcha. Do you use any
Or you
kind
could,
of sure?
Yeah,
no, I was just making a
now
joke. You
this
could
is
use Egg
this is from
AI.
sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I said, or you could just use us, Egg AI, and we'll tell you what's accurate or not using AI. Yeah.
No. It's a hard. So suppose I want to say the revenue in this segment last year was $230 million.
Mm-hmm.
And part of a table, it's not in the text. So from text, if you want to extract that text, then it becomes a little bit of a challenge that I've seen. There are some accuracy issues. So my team is kind of building this alternative where can we be more accurate. 100%
Mm-hmm.
accurate. But this is more coming from text databases to this. But from the databases, the main challenge lies in that can you generate the right kind of SQL or whatever query system that you have.
Right.
So there we are more fine in terms of the queries. We are okay with the queries. There are not much problems. I think the problems are more lying in building the right connectors there.
Okay.
They are
Yeah.
Very cool. Vivek, I think we should definitely connect. I still have a lot more questions on that front
yeah.
because
In fact, I can bring my team as well. We can do some sort of a stuff as well. But we are. I just attended PineCon Summit as well, so I wanted to go and see where are they right now. And I spoke to their one of the key solutions guy, and the problems that I'm facing are still the problems that they are also facing. So the field is evolving, so it's good to kind of know who is where and which use cases are actually working out. Definitely, Chat GPT has improved the productivity in my team significantly, like Masad is saying. That has definitely happened, especially on the sales, marketing, social media, content writing, all of that stuff. Everybody is like super productive. In fact, I have people who could not write even a good email are now writing good emails. So that side of productivity everybody is using. But really, when it comes to kind of putting it into databases is where we are building up our own solutions.
Take a look at the graph as a storage mechanism for any of your generative AI type of use cases. I don't know if you have, but that's a lot of what we're doing from a use case perspective right now is when you need to understand the relationships or you want to reduce hallucinations or add context that are specific to your organization. Like sometimes that's not best done in relational databases.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Andy. And actually, part of our tool, we use knowledge graphs and ontologies to
Yes.
get
So
that
Andy,
relationships. Yep. Yeah.
Michael, just to add that that's another question that I asked my team. So we are using metadata in some form of ontologies. We are not leaving. Uh, the question that I'm asking is that how do you get? See, question is not about accuracy. The question is about consistency of accuracy. So it's like going to a village where you know that some people lie, some people always tell the truth. How do you know you always get the truth? How do you solve that problem? So the question is that it's not about accuracy, it's about consistency of accuracy, that I want to know that I'm also accurate, so that I can trust the information. So Andy, we did have some ontologies integration, but again, it's a evolving question, because I also read some of the papers around how Neo4j plus the vector databases can be combined. But again, I would say early stages. I can give you more detailed answers in some time.
Yeah,
And
there's
maybe-
definitely a place for the vectors, and looking at similarity, like they're really, really good at that. So I agree. It's evolving. Happy to connect.
Yeah.
And Andy, you're from Neo4j, so I think like there's now more and more requests, interest, and excitement around using tools like Neo4j with generative
Yeah,
AI.
it's a wild time right now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on and it's moving fast. So we don't have all the answers, but we think we've got, you know, some pretty important capabilities in the workflow. So yeah, sorry I was late. I was on another call, but very interesting conversation.
No, all good. The recording, I'll make the recording available on LinkedIn. I just want to wrap up. So if anybody has any other burning use cases that wants to go for another minute, we'll do that. But otherwise, I would like to actually make this more of a weekly or bi-weekly cadence. I think there's much more to discuss, moving from use cases to challenges to things such that we hear, the accuracy and consistency and some of those things. So yeah, I'll open it up. If anybody has any other burning use cases that they're excited about, let's go for the last one, and then we can wrap up. I think Min, you're on mute. We can't hear you. I think you're on mute through the Gmeet. There we go. We heard you for a second.
No, we
Okay.
cannot hear.
Okay, no worries.
We cannot.
Behnush, anything from you? I know we were talking about banks getting into generative AI as well. I think she must be muted as well. But anyways, like if Behnush is not coming on.
You, guys. Hi, everybody. And, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I'm a data scientist at Navy Federal Credit Union. I'm glad that I hear about all your great experiences. And no, not for now. Just I will follow up with the rest of you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Perfect. All right. So would another topic about challenges of generative AI interest everybody? We can do that as the next round. And Vivek, probably we should put you on the spot if you're down for that. Like we'll advertise in advance, and I think you have a lot of experience in that area.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I will come more prepared. This was in terms of like, as we are building it, so I'm pretty curious. I'm very curious on solving some of the front end challenges. So definitely would be interested to participate.
Absolutely. And I put our website in the chat as well. Feel free to sign up on the wait list. We will be in touch very soon to show you some new interesting demos. But this was, sorry, what was that? Any
Hello,
questions?
can you hear me now?
Oh, Min, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I can have 1 minute to share our.
Sure, you can have 1 minute.
Just quickly, my name is Minju. I'm a data architect at CRICO, which is a malpractice liability insurance in Boston. So our user case actually is much simpler compared to what you guys shared. It's very simple. It's a typical like language, natural language processing problem. So we have our company. So we are an insurance company. We received a lot of claims, malpractice liability, those claims, and the claim like describe what incidents happened, what the malpractice happened. So it's a long text. So usually the coders will go to derive the code from there. So we analyze like contributing factors or doctors or what factors in that. So it's a typical text processing. So we have been experimenting using the ChatGPT to feed into our code and derive that. But the things that the coding taxonomy is our proprietary property at our company. So the challenge is really how we prevent this to go into the wild world. So it's security is top issue we're considering right now. So very simple user case, but yeah, just want to share with this audience.
That's great. And I think that could be a really great topic for the next conversation in terms of security on top of, like, as part of the challenges. Like we know a lot of companies are facing that, like they see the power and they're excited about generative AI, but yes, the security, closed loop models, and how to host your own large language model or potentially tap into open source, smaller language models. So these are, I think, good topics, top of mind for everybody. How can we make it secure, accurate, consistent?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, I think we'll do that. Well, with that, I really want to appreciate everybody's time. I know we went above 12 here in Austin, but yeah, thank you. I will set up the next one for next week, and I want to continue the conversation. Feel free to participate in the chat within the LinkedIn post. And yeah, good to see everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.